Welcome back to Sports Talk ATL. I am Chase Earl, joined by Jake, Gordon, and Alex Lord. Big Joe Jimenez. Big boy Joe Jimenez. He is back.
What's he got?
He is back. 3 years, 26 million. Yeah. 26 million. No club option. Shocking. It feels like the Braves always have a couple of club options in there. I guess Big Joe Jimenez did not want that. But he is back for 3 years with the Braves. Listen, we talked about Pierce Johnson. That's a huge re-signing. Joe Jimenez, another huge re-signing. This is a little bit pricey, but then again, you're talking about a guy who had a 2.37 ERA. He was recovering from a back injury early in the season that stemmed from last year. That clearly had an effect on him. Once he kind of got past that, his velocity was up, his strikeout numbers were up, and he was one of the best relievers on the Braves and really one of the best setup men in all of baseball. Braves had to get these holes patched up. You sent Justin Henry Malloy over there, who's been very good for the Tigers in AAA. This was just something that you had to get done. And now if you're thinking about looking at this bullpen, I feel a lot more comfortable with it going into the offseason. We still maybe have Dylan Lee back next year, hopefully, recovering from injury. And Tyler Matzek obviously is going to be back next year, hopefully, as he recovers from injury. They should both be ready for spring training unless something pops up. Hopefully they're both back. That's a pretty solid foundation. Now I still want, at least one more arm. But you got 6 guys right there. If Lee and Matzek are there, that you're pretty confident in, and hopefully you get one more. But you got a solid foundation going into the offseason.
Yeah, no, I really do like bringing these guys back early because if you look at the outside options, they're either going to be really expensive or not super inspiring. And they might decline the options. I think on maybe McHugh and Yates. I think they both have options. That'll pay for Jimenez. I think they might bring back Yates. McHugh will probably decline his option. But, they could bring both guys back and just try to run it back with the same group, or, maybe they keep looking. There's a few names out there I wouldn't mind. Ronaldo Lopez is one that immediately comes to mind. I would love to give Josh Hader, but I don't think that's really going to happen considering he's going to be extremely expensive. But, hey, I'll take him if they want to sign him.
Yeah, I'm going to go against the grain here. I think this is a nice start. I absolutely, I love the deal for both of these guys that we got out of the way early. I do agree with Jake. This is actually 2 off seasons in a row. The Braves have made the first free agent signing. Last year was Sam Hilliard. I think that I don't want to put my eggs in 2 injured baskets. And listen, I love Tyler Matzek and I love Dylan Lee. The fact is they could come back and be great for the Braves, but I don't want to put my eggs in that kind of basket. I've been a big proponent of just overkill. I want
the Rangers have shown that works, by the way.
I want to go out
last night.
I want to go out and spend $10 million more per year on another guy, maybe even another guy. I don't care. The Braves have money to spend. It's not our money. Who cares? Let's go spend all the money. I think we spoke ad nauseum about it, that it's not going to show up in the regular season, and that's okay because the Braves, as currently constructed right now, today, without even 26 men, are going to win the NL East and easily, at least make the playoffs. The fact is we're building towards October. We've lost in devastating fashions 2 offseasons in a row to one of our biggest rivals in the NLDS. Listen, the reason we lost to the Phillies this past year wasn't because of the relievers, but it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. And I think that's very true when it comes to relievers. They can be the reason you win a World Series. It was the reason why we won the World Series in 2021. Listen, we didn't invest a ton. Those guys just stepped up when it mattered most. But the fact of the matter is I'm not satisfied with this. It's a great start, but I want to overkill it. I don't want to put my eggs in the injury basket. I don't like that. And I don't like that when, it does work out for the Braves, more often than not, when Alex Anthopoulos takes a flyer on a guy who's bound for regression. But the injury basket just scares me. I'd rather a surefire guy that I know, go get him for $10 million. I don't care. I just want to overkill the bullpen. This is a great start, though.
Hey, by the way, you say it's not our money. It is our money. We spend a lot. I spent like $93 on 4 vodka waters at the Battery. It is my money.
That is true.
It's $300 every time I go there at the Chop House. Anyways, yeah, no, I agree with you, Alex. I mean, I think when it comes to guys like Soroka, everyone was kind of putting their eggs in that basket and stuff like that. As far as injured guys go, like I just think of them as icing on the cake. So like, yes, Tyler Matzik could be the guy, but you still need to get 5 or 6 guys outside of him. And if he comes back and he's really good, now you have 7 guys. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with having 7 guys? It's not like Matzik's making a lot of money. He's making $1.9 million next year. Dylan Lee's not going to be making a lot of money. So yeah, they have the money to spend. Bullpen doesn't count a lot. I don't think they necessarily have to get 2. If they get 2 more, that's great. Maybe bring Jesse Chavez back and get 1 more. But yeah, I think whoever they go out and get, I don't need another middle of the pack guy. Like I need the big boy. Like whoever they get needs to be one of those top 5, 6 relievers. You mentioned Lopez, obviously Hader. I think Stevenson is his name from the Rays. That guy's an absolute superstar. There's like, I did a whole list of them, but I don't have it pulled up in front of me. There's about 5, 6, 7 really, really good guys. And then there's also guys that are going to be up for trade. I mean, we talked about Michael Soroka and Eddie Rosario potentially being traded if they do want to move up from. I mentioned this idea to Alex a while ago, but what would make sense? Sending Michael Soroka to a rebuilding team that can keep him on the roster the entire season. What do rebuilding teams not need? Relievers. So like moves like that, like there's ways that they can upgrade this bullpen. But now the focus definitely shifts to the starting rotation. And one aspect of the rotation that I just wanted to mention is Max Fried's health, which is kind of the interesting part of all this, because we're always saying, oh, well, we got Max Fried and Spencer Strider. Well, he did have an elbow injury last year. And if you're talking about injuries that kind of concern you as far as the future of someone, and then he was injured the year before or sick the year before, they got to shore up this rotation. And I mean, shore it up. I mean, they got to sign one of the top 6, 7 guys on the market. I don't think it's going to be Nola. I don't think it's going to be Blake Snell. Don't think it's going to be Montgomery because I think he's going to get overpaid. But a guy like Sonny Gray, something like that, I think makes too much sense.
This is another thing where you don't need it. Hang on, go ahead.
Yeah. Go ahead. No, you got it.
This is another thing that, like Braves fans, I've seen it multiple times where they're trying to skirt around, the rotation where they're saying just what Chase said. We got Max Fried, Spencer Strider, regardless of the Charlie Morton thing. And then you start looking at the young guys, AJ Smith-Shawver, Hurston Waldrop. Listen, if those guys are ready and can contribute, that's icing on the cake. You shouldn't count on guys who are coming off injuries or that are young, maybe too young to count on like that. You've got to just overkill it. We're at the point where it's like, let's not risk anything. Like, let's overkill it.
Yeah, no, and you may have to rely on those guys anyways, as we've seen. And,
right.
I think it speaks to the point too. You talk about spending on bullpen and spending on rotation. I mean, outside of maybe left field, what else do you have to spend on? You don't need a third baseman. You don't need a center fielder. You don't need a first baseman. Like, what else?
And I think Alex Anthopoulos realizes that like the 2 things that he absolutely needs. The most historic offense in history, or arguably the greatest offense in history, falling asleep at the wheel, cannot be counted on. You can't overcome that. Now, the bats are a non-negotiable. We obviously have to hit in the postseason. But the things that we can control are the pitching staff. And I think Alex Anthopoulos realizes that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the scariest part about the Braves rotation right now is they're a Spencer Strider injury away from being absolutely cooked. Like that's really the biggest thing. Like they can't go into this the way they currently are constructed, and you can't just be relying on AJ Smith-Shawver, Hurston Waldrop, Bryce Elder, those kind of guys, because they're not going to be good enough for a postseason run. So you're a Spencer Strider. Like Spencer Strider is good enough that if he's in there, and I know he lost both games against the Phillies, but it wasn't his fault. We just didn't hit. But he's good enough in every playoff series to give you 2 wins that you feel comfortable as long as he's healthy. But outside of that, I don't really feel comfortable with anything right now with the injuries and Charlie Morton. And even if Charlie Morton's there, like he's more of just kind of like your veteran middle of the rotation guy at this point in his career. So definitely got to fix that up. I'm sure they will. It's going to be a great offseason, hopefully. Coming up after the break, we are going to get into Georgia and Missouri top 12 matchup in the SEC East.